Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV. Download the app today. Shalom.
Shalom, family. Most High in Christ bless. Happy Sabbath. Oh, that sounds good. That's good. Happy Sabbath. Good to see you. And those listening online, happy Sabbath. I pray all is well. Today's class is going to be history on the Maccabees. I haven't been over it in a while, and I suspect I won't be able to finish it in one class. So maybe what I'll do is maybe 1 week out of the month, I'll dedicate it to this history. Maybe take me a couple months, 3 months, I'm not sure. But anyway, so what do we begin? We're going to start in Daniel. We're going to start with the prophecy. All right, let's go to the book of Daniel 8. Apologize. Let's see. All right. The book of Daniel, chapter 8. I'm sorry. The book of Daniel, chapter 8. And I want to begin. Start with verse 1.
Daniel chapter 8, verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan, in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river Ulai. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will and became great. And as I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes.
Okay, so this ram is referring to the Persian and Medes. The higher horn would have been the Persian Empire. It took the Persian and Median Empire to take down the Babylonians, like it took the I want to say took the Persian, I forgot, train of thought I lost. The Persian and Medes they came together to take down Babylon. And then you had Darius, and then after Darius came Cyrus the third, all right? And in his vision he's now talking about a goat. So verse 5 one more time.
And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes.
Okay, now when it says, and this goat, which is the Greeks, and it had a notable horn between his eye, that horn is talking about Alexander. When it said, and he touched not the ground, the pace in which the Greeks and Alexander, the land they covered, the amount of territory they covered was so fast. To take down the Persian and Mede Empire, and do we have a map? Did I send you a map of that region? Real quick. Okay. Hopefully, all right, that's good. Let's pull that up real quick. So I'm just going to talk over the map so people can understand what we're talking about. All right. Okay. So this was the Persian Empire. They controlled from India, which you see to the far right corner, all the way down into Ethiopia, which would be where you see Thebes and Egypt. Down here, there's 127 provinces. So their empire was vast, one of the largest. And when it says the goat feet did not touch the ground, it took Alexander and his men. It didn't take them very long to take and conquer those areas. They went from land to land, from Asia Minor down into Egypt, across into what you call today Babylon, as far as India, and they conquered. I think he did most of his conquering was done in less than 10 years, and we're talking about on feet and horse, and I don't even know if he even had war elephants, but maybe later on he ended up getting them because the Persians did have those. But the point was that that's what the dream in which Daniel was talking about. His feet did not touch the ground. Read on.
Verse 6, and he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him. But he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
So it says so in verse 7 it says, I saw him come close to unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him and smote the ram. So a little backstory in history. There was an ongoing dispute between the Greeks and the Persians that lasted, and I'm gonna put a timeline on it, but don't quote me exactly. It had to been over 150 years. For many of you that's seen the movie 300, that was Xerxes that was encroaching. Go back to the map. Back to that map. That was encroaching. If you see Sardis on Ephesus, right across that water in the Mediterranean, you see that little land, Macedonia, and right below that, that'd be Sparta or Greece. Sparta is a city-state of Greece. They began to push that way, and they found some resistance. So the Greeks, from the time of Philip the Macedonian, which was Alexander's father, leave the map up. They wanted payback. They wanted payback. Now, we read about the Persians, and we read about Xerxes and Ahasuerus. We read about them in the Bible also, with Mordecai and Esther, all right? So years later, Philip the Macedonian, and I'm just giving some brief history, he wanted to consolidate all the Greek states. You had Sparta, Athens, Macedonia, because he was a Macedonian. They all had similar practices, but they all lived independent. And it wasn't until Philip the Macedonian when they were able to gather all the Greek city-states together. He was murdered, and his son Alexander took over. And that's who we're reading about now, Alexander. So when you read in verse 7, read that again.
Daniel chapter 8, verse 7, and I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him. But he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
All right. That happened in the year 331 BC. It was under the Persian king, who was Darius III. He lost to Alexander. And I'm reading from here now because Daniel had this understanding of this vision, and this is in the time of Belshazzar. Which was in a time of which captivity were we in? Who knows? Nobody. Come on. There you go. Right there. Just say it out loud. The Babylonians, right. So from the time of the Babylonians, then we went into captivity under the Persian and Medes, and then came the Greeks. So he had his vision long before it came to pass. So we're starting here to see the vision, and then we're going to read it coming to fruition when we get into the book of First Maccabees. So let's read verse 8.
Verse 8, therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken.
So Alexander, he died. Read on.
And for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven.
So to it came up 4 notable ones. Out of Alexander, he had many generals. But out of his generals, there were 4 of them that eventually became the 4 governing generals over all of the land that Alexander controlled. All right? The 4 generals were Cassander. Oh, well, is it up there? Do I have it? I know I sent you the notes, but I'm not looking at it. Just tell me if I put it there. If not, I'll just tell you who the 4 generals were, the 4 notable ones. Nope. If you could put it on my screen right here, I'll tell you if that's it. Okay, I'll tell you them. See if you find it. It was Cassander, Ptolemy, Seleucus, and Lysimachus. All right, those were the 4 notable generals that ruled. Go back to the map. Okay, there's the map I'm looking for. Okay, so this map is a Persian map, but I'll explain to you anyway. Cassander had Thrace. Cassander had Macedon, which would be towards Greece. Ptolemy had Egypt. Seleucus had Asia Minor, which what you see was his Cappadocia there. That would be Asia Minor. And Lysimachus had Thrace, which would be above, really, I would say closer to Armenia would be Thrace, okay? Those were the 4 notable generals that Daniel spoke about that ended up taking over Alexander's kingdom. And Alexander was, well, let's read on. I won't say it yet.
Verse 9, and out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven.
So now, out of those 4 generals, or those 4 notable ones, came forth a little horn. That little horn is referring to Antiochus Epiphanes, all right? And it says, and which waxed exceedingly great toward the south, he went towards Egypt. Towards the east, he went towards Asia Minor, and towards the pleasant land. And the pleasant land, oh yeah, you put the map back up. And the pleasant land would be Judah, or Israel, the land of Judah, land of Israel, right? Stay right there, verse 10.
And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them.
So it says, and waxed great, even to the host of heaven. For him to wax great, it means he began to kill. It says to the host, and it cast some of the host of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. That host is referring to Israel. I'm going to go over the scriptures. I'm going to give you the precepts. I just want to read through this. And we're going to come back and go through it. Verse 11.
Verse 11, yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host. And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away. And the place of his sanctuary was cast down.
Yeah, he even magnified himself even to the prince of the host. The prince of the host would be Christ. The word Epiphanes means God manifested on earth. He took himself to be a god, which many of those Greeks and those Romans, those Edomites, they want to profess themselves as being God. Today, you have the lying image of our Savior, the black Messiah, that's right, Jesus the Christ. They want to make themselves gods on earth. All right? Now watch this. It says, to the prince of the host. I lost my place. Okay, verse 11. And by him, the daily sacrifices were taken away. We're going to read that in the Maccabees in a second. And the place of the sanctuary was cast down. We're going to read that also. All right, so verse 12.
Verse 12, and an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression. And it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered.
Now look what it says. And a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression. The host was referring to Israel, and I'm explaining it in a second. They were killing us mercilessly, right? Somebody say the word for me. That's exactly what I want, right? They didn't give a damn. Give me that in Deuteronomy 28. Spared neither young nor old. Everybody know the verse I'm talking about? Women, 28:10. Give me a second. 50?
Deuteronomy
Yep.
chapter 28 and verse 50.
Start with verse 49.
Verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
Read on.
A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
Right. This one we're reading about right here coming to fruition from that prophecy in verse 12. And the host was given against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression. So you had some old people that sold out their own brothers, and we was given up for sacrifice. Here's one sacrifice that we was given up for. The Feast of Bacchus. And I'm just going to talk about it. I'm going to go more in depth later on. Many of us was put to death during those feasts. It was a feast of reveling, drunkenness. One of those feast days today, I'm trying to think of the ancient name of it. It's called Christmas, but it's called Saturnalia. That's the name I'm looking for. And if you can Google real quick, see if you find it. The origins of Christmas in the United States being outlawed. Because they was killing people. That was part of their practices. What you call Christmas today was outlawed because they was mercifully killing people in the streets. These people are base people. I'll tell you something, boy. They are the epitome of Satan on earth. All right? So, but then don't get me wrong, you got our own people that's the devil themselves also. Because we have many of our forefathers like Jason, and many of them that Alexander, and not Alexander the Great, but an Israelite, that, strike the name Alexander. Jason, I forgot the other name I'm thinking about right now, that actually gave up his own people. Here it goes. That's right there. Somebody read that? Is that what says banned? I want to know why. Read it.
Christmas observance was outlawed in Boston in 1659. The ban by the Puritans was revoked in 1681 by an English appointed governor.
All right, that's not it. Go down. Scroll down. Right there. Yeah, right there. Christmas controversies. Let's see what it says right there. If you can put a search finder there, Control F, and put murder. No. Is it there? I can't see, so. Try kill. Yeah, go back to Google. I can't really see what it's. I don't know if something's coming up, so if you do see it, let me know.
I wasn't nothing.
Okay, go back. No, keep the screen up there. Go back to, scroll up in the search bar. I want you to go, Christmas, outlawed, New York City. New York. Wow. In 1647, the Puritan-led English Parliament banned the celebration of Christmas, replacing it with a day of fasting considered to be popish festival with no biblical justification. Now, which city? Okay, go back up in the search and just put murder or killings. None of this, leave that right there. It was in New York. I can't find it. Don't worry about it. You guys Google it. But in part of the practice, because it's not ready to class, but they actually killed. If somebody finds it, just text it and we'll pull it up. All right, so let's go back to Daniel's. Okay, so let's begin to explain these precepts. Start with verse 8.
Daniel chapter 8 and verse 8. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven.
First Maccabees 1. And we're going to keep on jumping back to go through this. I want First Maccabees 1, verse 6.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 6. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place.
That's what we just read in Daniel's. Those are the 4 notable ones. Read verse 5.
Verse 5, and after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die.
Right. So then he set up verse 9.
And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth.
And the earth became worse after these 4 generals came into place. And when I say worse towards us, that's what I mean. They're already the devil. Verse 9 of Daniel's 8.
Daniel's chapter 8 and verse 9. And out of one of them came forth a little horn.
Okay, let's go to out of one of those 4 came a little horn. Back to First Maccabees 1 and verse 10.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes.
Now, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, they said out of these 4 generals, they came a wicked root. Antiochus came out of the line of the Seleucid dynasty, all right? And he was the one who was being referred to in Daniel. So Daniel saw the vision of Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes. Read on.
Son of Antiochus the king.
Now, this man, Antiochus the king, if you could pull up that, very good. Can you put that up for me right there? The house of Seleucus, real quick. Okay, I'm going to tell you why I was like. Okay, I'm going to, if you see the top one, the first one, Seleucus, first, Nicator, that was one of the generals of Alexander. By the time we get down, remember it says, and their children after them wore crowns, we are going to go down to Antiochus III, which is the Great, 222 to 187. Now, this is the one who was the father of Seleucus, or Antiochus Epiphanes, I should say, all right? He lost a war against Rome. He went up against Rome. As a matter of fact, he became an enemy, or the tension between the Greeks and the Romans rose because he protected Hannibal. Hannibal was warring against Rome, Carthage, which is northern Africa. Today, Carthage is where? Tunisia? Can somebody look at that? I don't know, Tunisia comes to my mind, I don't know why. But anyway, and Hannibal actually was the first general to ever cross and boy, my memory is gone for me. What is the river in Rome, the main river. Anyway, he crossed the Alps, you're right, with elephants. And he crossed somebody tell me the river's name. Boy, I can't remember.
Tiber.
The Tiber. Thank you very much. He crossed that river. And when I say it was an incredible feat, because he crossed the Alps with elephants. This was a black man. And he had Rome on the run. And Rome did not want to see him head up. Now, Rome was a superpower now. It wasn't a small little nothing. They were a superpower. They were fighting. I'm going to something else now. They were fighting the Gauls, which, are they were more fighting westward towards England, France. They were fighting that direction. They weren't fighting eastward. Anyway, and they were fighting south, which is Africa. Because he was so fierce, Rome didn't take him head on. They went to Carthage and began to sack Carthage. And the leaders of Carthage called Hannibal back. He went back, he lost, and he lost to Africanus, one of them. And he fled to Asia Minor under Antiochus III, which is, I hate saying the great, the Greek. And that spurned a war between them. And the reason I'm explaining that for is because he lost. And because he lost, leave that map right there, read verse 10 again in 1 Maccabees.
1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome.
The important part of that was that Antiochus Epiphanes was a hostage at Rome. All right? We're going to get back to that later. Let's go back over to Daniel. Okay. So, verse 9 again.
Daniel chapter 8 and verse 9. And out of one of them came forth a little horn,
Antiochus Epiphanes,
which waxed exceeding great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land.
Read.
And it waxed great even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host and the stars to the ground.
Go to the book of Obadiah.
Which verse?
Give me a second. Verse 20.
Obadiah, verse 20. And the captivity of this host of the children of Israel.
So the host is the children of Israel. So let's go back. It says, and the host, so we understand that host is the children of Israel, was given, I'm sorry, what verse we're in again?
Verse 10.
Read it again.
It says, and it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground.
Read on.
And stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host.
Now we're going to go back and explain about him stamping us down in Maccabees in a second. It says, yea, he, is Antiochus, himself even, it says, yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host. Isaiah 9. Verse 6.
Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace.
This is him. He said when he magnified himself against the prince of the host, he said, listen, that ain't your God. I'm your God. I am God. I'm God manifested on earth. Come and worship me. That's what he wanted people to do. And we're going to go into being Hellenized, which when you get to the New Testament, if you don't, here's a point that people don't seem to understand. If you don't understand the Old Testament, if you don't have the books which is called today the Apocrypha, then you will never be able to put the history together properly. You could never put the history together properly. You need these books of the Apocrypha because when you get to the New Testament and you hear there's no difference between Jew and Greek, you think they're talking about Greek meaning Caucasians. No, You have to understand, many of our people were Hellenized and began to call themselves Greeks, like some of you call yourself American today, or African. So without those books, you can't understand it. So because they were Hellenized, now I'm sidebar, this has nothing to do with history. I'm just about to take a little jab real quick. That's why when you get to the New Testament and you see that they're talking about in Corinth, and you see the writings of Paul, he was telling us, like James 1:1, Peter 1:1, 1 Corinthians, concerning us coming out of living in a Gentile state of mind, is because we learned that from the Greco-Roman captivities. We became like them. We assimilate to their ways. So in us coming out of it, we're repenting, we're coming back to laws. And for you sisters and men that are married to people, that you're coming to the truth, but they're not really repenting at this point. They're not coming and they're not repenting at a point. That's why it says if they be pleased to dwell with, you deal with them so they have a chance to hopefully come around. That doesn't mean that if you got a husband or a wife that is smoking drugs, or if you have a wife, if you're a man and you're a beta male and your wife refused to take off a pair of pants, or she's still eating pork in your presence, that's being pleased to dwell with. That's ridiculous. You have pleased to dwell with is she or he will humble to the word of God for the love they have for you, because they don't fully know how to love God. And any of you that's tolerating that, your days are numbered in this truth. Sidebar, let's get back to the class. All right. Verse 12. No, verse 11.
Back in Daniel or?
Daniel 8 and 11.
Daniel chapter 8, verse 11. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away.
That him is referring to Antiochus Epiphanes. Let's explain it. Let's go to the book now of 1 Maccabees one more time. And we're going to read that, and then we'll begin to put this in some type of order. So I'm not going to, today's class, I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to try to cram it all in, because this is so much history, you could never get through it properly in one class. So what was the last one we read?
We read 1 Maccabees 1 and 10.
Oh, he took away the daily sacrifice, right? Let's go. Yeah. 1 Maccabees 1, verse 40, verse 41.
1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and every one should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
It said all the heathen agreed. All those around about countries that they had dominion over, they all agreed that we're going to leave our laws. Read on.
Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
It says also many of the Israelites began to consent to his religion. Who do you think they were for the most part? Who do you think the ones that would consent? He put out a word and said, leave what you're doing. So let me ask you a question. If you didn't leave what you're doing, what do you think would have happened? Right here. They'll kill you. Mm-hmm. Now, okay, right, they would kill you. They'll begin to confiscate your property, take your belongings. So when it said many of the Israelites consented to their religion, it was many of the Israelites that were affluent. I mean, they had money. They had things to lose. They didn't want to let go of those things. So they took on Greekish fashions. They said, okay, I got all these acres. I got this land. I got riches. I don't want to lose this because I'm going to get killed. I'm living life up. They wouldn't change. Likewise today, you have many more people in this society today that are well-to-do, and they conform to the way of America because they're on Air Force One with Joe Biden, these fake pastors. They got land and riches and authority and honor in this captivity. So they're going to lead you to what? To Christmas. They're going to lead you to 4th of July. They're going to lead you to voting. They're going to lead you to take the jab. They're paid. This little slick pressed hair Negroes. They have too much to lose. So many of us that's consented, as we're going to read about it today, consented because they had something to lose. So read that again.
First Maccabees 1, verse 43. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
Okay, and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbaths. So many of them did it. And a lot of that information was disseminated by the spiritual leaders back then, like Jason, these men. Onias is the one I was thinking about. These were spiritual leaders, allegedly so-called, but they were the mouthpiece for the Greeks and for the Romans. They were the mouthpiece. Don't you know history keeps on repeating itself? And today we have mouthpiece for America right now. You have your what's the slickhead guy we talking about? Al Sharptons and your T.D. Jakes and these people and Creflo Dollars and all these people that are mouthpieces for America. They get paid. And they try to get all of us to consent. Whenever you want to move anything in the black community, well, I don't know about this time, but some years back, you would go to the black churches. You want somebody to be in office, go to black churches, give that black pastor a couple bucks, and he's going to tell everybody, vote for John F. Kennedy, whoever it might have been. That's how they disseminate information down. So many people. Let's read on.
Verse 44. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days.
They should what?
And that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days.
He said one of the decrees that they would begin to profane the Sabbath and festival days. You know what? Guess what? You ain't keeping Christmas no more. I mean, you ain't keeping Sabbath no more on what they call today so-called Saturday, which is another Greek terminology for Saturn they worship. But that's another story in itself. You're no longer going to keep the Passover. We're going to give you Easter. So they'll take it from you, but they're going to give you something in replace. They'll put something back in replace for and say, okay, we give you, take away Feast of Dedication. We'll give you Christmas. We'll take away Feast of Ingathering. We'll give you Thanksgiving. We give you your Passover. We give you Easter. Give a nigga something, you know. And all people loved it. Because with those days, generally came what? Gifts. And a gift destroyeth the heart. That's how they destroyed us. We so simple. That's why I said back in, you can stay right where you're at. It says, and back in 8 and 12 of Daniel's, and the host was given, it says, and a host was given him against the daily sacrifices by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth, verse 11. And yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifices were taken away. Read that again. Go read what you're at now.
First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 45 again. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath days and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation.
Read on.
To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
So do you understand the purpose behind it? Many of their great, gosh, I hate using that word, many of those so-called thinkers of their times, they were big on having thinkers, people that sit around and just think of life and think, today we call it psychology, how to mold people's minds. But these men, they understood we want to have control of them by changing the way they think, their ideology. Now, before I go into that, I want to go back to Daniel's, and I want to jump to chapter 9. Now, I'm going to go to chapter 9 the next time I teach it, because Daniel's 9 kind of touch on this also. But there's one point in Daniel's 9 that I want. 9 verse 27.
Daniel chapter 9 and verse 27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
So now, this is the same thing that happened back then, to get the oblations to cease. And also it goes to 70 AD, but that's another class, another time. All right? So when we go back to Maccabees now, it says, and forbid burnt offerings, in verse 45, and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also have their children, they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. That circumcision was a covenant that was made between us and God. It was an outward show that we are not like everybody else. They stripped away everything, every part of our heritage that gave us a connection to God so they can Hellenize us. Okay, now we're going to go backwards because we're reading about what Antiochus Epiphanes did. I want to go back up to the Hasmonean, yeah, that's right there. Antiochus III, the Great, right? That was the father. All right. Before Antiochus Epiphanes took the throne, his brother that you see to the left of him or to the right of you, depending how you're looking at it, is Seleucus IV. All right? He ruled before Antiochus Epiphanes ruled. All right? So we're going to go backwards in history a little bit. Let's go to 2 Maccabees. Now, I want to say something. 1st and 2nd Maccabees is the same history. It's just certain parts of 2nd Maccabees will illustrate it a little more, or it give you, in this regard, it gives you a little bit before Antiochus Epiphanes came into rulership. So when you're reading it and you see certain names that's, again, there's a very good chance it's the same person. They just rewrote it. Because when I used to read it, in my younger days, I read, I'm like, yeah, he died already. I read it and he died. And I'm reading over here and it's like, he's alive. I'm like, how can he be alive? I just read it. So it took many years of me connecting the dot to understand that it was the same history, just like the Gospels. Certain of what Luke writes is, well, what Matthew wrote in Matthew 1 kind of precedes what Luke spoke about. If you guys understand what I mean. If you don't, give it time, you'll understand. So let's go to 2 Maccabees, chapter, give me a second, because I don't remember it, but if I see it, I'll get it. 2 Maccabees, chapter 4. There's so much. Okay, let me try 3. Okay, let's start to 2 Maccabees, chapter 3, verse 1. We're going to do some power reading. Now we're going to do some reading and explain. After Antiochus III, which is the Great, this is his son Seleucus that ruled. That's why you heard it said Antiochus Epiphanes was a hostage in Rome, because they held him as a hostage so his father would not rebel. Just kept it, and that was their fail-safe. So Antiochus Epiphanes, he grew up in Rome. He was raised from a young child up in Rome. That's showing you how Rome had control. They were the dominant force in the earth at that point. Okay, let's begin in 2 Maccabees 3.
2 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 1. Now when the holy city was inhabited with all peace, and the laws were kept very well, because of the ungodliness of Onias the high priest, and his hatred of wickedness, it came to pass that even the kings themselves did honor the place, and magnify the temple with their best gifts, insomuch that Seleucus, king of Asia, of his own revenues, bare all the costs belonging to the service of the sacrifices. But one, Simon of the tribe of Benjamin, who was made governor of the temple, fell out with the high priest about disorder in the city. And when he could not overcome Onias, he gat him to Apollonius, the son of Thracias, who was the governor of Seleucia and Phinis.
Okay, let's stop right there. Verse 1. Now when the holy city was inhabited with all peace, and the laws were kept very well because of the guidance of Onias, the high priest, and his hatred of wickedness. So Onias was doing his job. I said Onias was the bad one. No, Onias was good. I'm going to remember the other one's name in a second. Onias was all right. And the place was at peace. Look what happened. It came to pass, even the kings themselves did honor the place and magnify the temple with their best gifts. When the righteous are ruling, when you're doing right, he'll even make you. What's that again? Is that in Jeremiah? It says he'll make your enemies and treat you well. Somebody tell me again, real quick. I forgot. Somebody just find it for me. I think it's Jeremiah. Oh, it could be. I'm not sure. I said Jeremiah, but I could be wrong.
I was thinking about enemies at peace.
Jeremiah 15. Watch this. Verse 11.
Jeremiah chapter 15 and verse 11. The Lord said, verily, it shall be well with thy remnant. Verily, I will cause the enemy to entreat thee well in the time of evil and in the time of affliction.
Now, trust me, in those times, it was times of evil and affliction. We were in captivity. But because of Onias' righteousness and how he governed, even the other kings gave gifts. Now read verse 3 of 2 Maccabees.
2 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 3. Insomuch that Seleucus, king of Asia, of his own revenues, bear all the costs belonging to the service of the sacrifices.
Listen to what it said. Seleucus, which was the son of Antiochus III, he bared all the costs for the service of the temple. He bared all the costs for it. He paid for it out of his own pocket for all the costs of the temple. So it wasn't costing us nothing. The Most High allowed us to get a blessing in that regard. But here come the nigger. Verse 4.
But one, Simon of the tribe of Benjamin.
What tribe?
The tribe of Benjamin.
I didn't actually put any extra on it.
I'm sorry.
This nigga right here, boy, Simon. Let's read on, boy.
But one Simon of the tribe of Benjamin, who was made governor of the temple.
Now, I'm telling you how black people are. We just damn niggas. He was made governor of the temple. Now, here's the thing. He was made governor of the temple. He had a job. He was there. But spiritually leading, Onias was the leader. He had an office to fulfill, but on the spiritual note, Onias was the man in charge in that regard. He wasn't content with what he had. What happened? Fell out with
the high priest about disorder in the city. And when he could not overcome Onias, he gat him to Apollonius, the son of Thracias, who was then governor of Seleucia and Phinis.
So these are the other regions. Because he couldn't get his way, he went to the white man. That's what you listen. These scriptures are real. We watch that with people right here who go up against us because they're so mad. They go to God is going to kill you if you don't repent. You will not see the kingdom. You turn to the end. You'd even turn to God and say, God, I feel like I'm being undone wrong. You went to your enemy. Boy, you people are simple as hell. I'm telling you, when hatred take you in your spirit, your spiritual discernment is so off. You join to the beast, the dragon. Read on.
Verse 6, and told him
And snitched.
that the treasury in Jerusalem was full of infinite sums of money, so that the multitude of their riches, which did not pertain to the account of the sacrifices, was innumerable, and that it was possible to bring all into the king's hand.
Now, notice this. Because of his hatred towards Onias, his hatred was so strong that he was willing to sacrifice and let everybody else fall. He just wanted Onias. But damn it, if it means I got to take down everybody, well, it's worth the cost. That ain't no love for your people. You had no love for your people. For hatred to one man, you will kill or destroy everybody else? Boy, read on.
Now when Apollonius came to the king and had showed him of the money whereof he was told, the king chose out Heliodorus his treasurer, and sent him with a commandment to bring him the foresaid money. So forthwith Heliodorus took his journey under a color of visiting the cities of Seleucia and Phoenice, but indeed to fulfill the king's purpose. And when he was come to Jerusalem and had been courteously received of the high priest of the city, he told him what intelligence was given of the money, and declared wherefore he came, and asked if these things were so indeed.
So what verse you stopped at?
Verse 9.
So watch this. Verse 8. Forthwith Heliodorus took his journey under color of visiting the city of Seleucia and Phoenice, but indeed to fulfill the king's purpose. And when he was come to Jerusalem and had been courteously received of the high priest of the city, so he came in, hey, here you go, Heliodorus. But you know he had another plan. That's up. 1 second. You know he had another plan. It says, received the high priest of the city, he told what intelligence was given of the money and declared wherefore he came, and asked if these things were indeed. Then the high priest told him that there was such money laid up for the relief of widows and fatherless children. So Onias, being the godly man he is, he didn't lie. So yeah, the money is there, but it's there to take care of the people, for the relief of the widows and the children that are fatherless. And that some of the belonging and some of it belong to Hyrcanus, the son of Tobias, a man of great dignity, and not as that wicked Simon had misinformed. The sum whereof in all was 400 talents of silver, 200 talents of gold. Damn, man. Okay, I'm not going to read all this history right here. When you get a chance, read it. Heliodorus went to try to get the money. That didn't work out for him. The angels beat him. All right, let's jump to verse 37.
Verse 37. And when the king asked Heliodorus who might be a fit man to be sent yet once again to Jerusalem.
Wait a second. Before I read that, I do want to read some of this real quick. Verse 26. Verse 25.
Verse 25. For there appeared unto them an horse with a terrible rider upon him, and adorned with a very fair covering. And he ran fiercely, and smote at Heliodorus with his forefeet. And it seemed that he that sat upon the horse had complete harness of gold.
These are angels now fighting Heliodorus. Read on.
Moreover, two other young men appeared before him, not able in strength, excellent in beauty.
No,
and-
notable in strength.
notable in strength, excellent in beauty, and comely in apparel, who stood by him on either side, and scourged him continually, and gave him many sore stripes.
He was on both sides beating him. Read on.
And Heliodorus fell suddenly unto the ground, and was compassed with great darkness. But they that were with him took him up, and put him into a litter.
A litter is like a box to lift him up because he was so broken up, he couldn't even walk on his own. Read on.
Thus him that lately came with a great train and with all his guard into the said treasury they carried out, being unable to help himself with his weapons.
Yeah, he wasn't able to help himself with weapons. Read on.
And manifestly they acknowledged the power of God.
And,
For
and hold on. And manifestly they acknowledged the power of God. They got beat where they understood the power of God. That was same with Nebuchadnezzar when he was made into a beast to walk the earth. He understood the power of God. Just like today, people don't understand. There come a day of reckoning, and people are going to understand the power of God. These nations are going to understand that we do have a God. It might appear that you think we ain't nothing, but there'll be a day of reckoning, and in that day and in that time, there'll be many of us that tell you, I told you so. I love this history right here. Okay, I don't want to read all of it. Verse 37.
Verse 37. And when the king asked Heliodorus, who might be a fit man to be sent yet once again to Jerusalem, he said, if thou hast any enemy or traitor, send him thither, and thou shalt receive him well scourged, if he escape with his life. For in that place, no doubt, there is an especial power of God. For he that dwelleth in heaven hath his eye on that place, and defendeth it. And he beateth and destroyeth them that come to hurt it.
So look, the angel fought for us. And he told him, listen, king, if they're doing right by God, they have a special power. Because his eyes are upon that place. So now watch this. Onias was in rulership, was the high priest, and the place was in peace. Then came Jason to stir up the pot. It didn't work in that regard because guess what happened? We had many of our people that were living godly, and the angels fought for us and fought for those that were keeping the commandments. So what do you think the Greeks began to do to understand? We have to separate them from their God. So let's jump to chapter 4, verse 1, and we're going to jump on down.
2 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 1. This Simon now, of whom we spake afore, having been a bearer of the money and of his country, slandered Onias, as if he had terrified Heliodorus and been the worker of these evils.
So now look, this Onias doing right, but Simon began to bear false witness. Like he had something to do with Heliodorus getting beaten. He said he's the one who did it. Have you seen people do that same thing here? Concerning that sister that passed, that was murdered, I should say. Oh, brothers in the murder. We're on the other side of the earth. One man's action, because of the deep hatred they have. Irregardless of what you feel, you know that's evil and that's wrong and that's a lie. Your hatred is so bad that you want her family to believe something that's not true. You want to see people wrongfully arrested and convicted for things that's not true. God going to kill you. I'm telling you now, the Lord does not like a liar, a slanderer. But anyway, let's read on.
Verse 2. Thus was he bold to call him a traitor that had deserved well of the city and tendered his own nation and was so zealous of the laws.
Yeah, you were bold to call him a traitor, Simon. Read on.
But when their hatred went so far that by one of Simon's faction murders were committed.
That's how bad it was. Simon had a faction. He had people that followed him. And they were committing murders. If they can get away with it, they'll murder you. And I'm talking about your own people. That's why I say, you of your father the devil. Some more people were, from the beginning, was meant to be evil as hell. Evil. All this because he was mad. I mean, you had a job, you was the governor. It wasn't good enough. Watch this, read on down.
Onias, seeing the danger of this contention, and that Apollonius, as being the governor of Seleucia and Phoenice, did rage and increase Simon's malice. He went to the king, not to be an accuser of his countrymen, but seeking the good of all, both public and private. For he saw that it was impossible that the state should continue quiet, and Simon leave his folly, unless the king did look thereunto.
But look at Onias, how he moved. He says, and he went to the king, because he saw that Simon put a battery in the governor of Seleucia's back, and he did rage. And when he raged, Simon's malice increased. He's like, I got this guy. He's following me. I know he's listening. He's okay. So what did Onias did? He went to the king, not to be accuser of his countrymen, but seeking the good of all. He didn't go there to get Simon in trouble, but his purpose was to make sure all of Israel could be at peace. Read on down. Verse 7.
Verse 7. But after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus called Epiphanes, took the kingdom.
Now look what happened now. Now I read all that to get to this point now. Seleucus, which was the son of Antiochus III, he died. When all this was going on, he eventually died. And now look who comes in. Read that verse again.
But after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus called Epiphanes, took the kingdom, Jason, the brother of Onias, labored underhand to be high priest.
So now, Seleucus dies. Where was Antiochus at? Who remembers? Where was he at? Anybody knows? Right there. No. Right.
Salon leadership, he was in prison.
Where? Well, he wasn't.
In Rome?
He was in Rome, but he wasn't in prison. When they hold you as a hostage in that regard, but yeah, he was in Rome. You're correct. He was, I hate to use this word too, for lack of better words, royalty. He was educated in Rome. You know, he just couldn't leave Rome, but he went around the city. He wasn't like he was sitting in a jail cell. He was a little boy, so they had to groom him up. Groom him up for what? What do you think they had to groom him for? Right in front of you. Yeah. What do you think they had to groom him up for?
Shalom, Most High, Bishop. They so he can take over?
Right. They had to groom up so he could be a leader. So now when you read here, they're saying that Seleucus died, and it says when Antiochus Epiphanes took the kingdom, Rome let him go to come back to the land to rule over. Because remember, they still have to collect. The reason Rome is over them because Rome want their taxes. They want their money. They want to get paid. So we got to have somebody in place that can govern the people and bring this money in. He's been on earth for the last 15, 20 years. Send him back. So 2 Maccabees, chapter 4, or chapter 3 and chapter 4, kind of predates 1 Maccabees, verses 10 on down. The first part of 1 Maccabees is about Alexander. Then when you get down to Antiochus Epiphanes, no, you have to read over here first and understand that his brother ruled, and then they freed him. So I was saying that they had to, they would have to get their tribute, right? Real quick. Let's go. Let's finish reading that. Read on.
Verse 8. Promising unto the king by intercession 360 talents of silver, and of another revenue 80 talents. Besides this, he promised to assign 150 more.
Now watch this.
What club was that at?
Admit that a lot of people don't even realize they.
I've called her. She hasn't responded. I've called her more than a few times.
But the Zulu Nation, I'm like, what the hell is this? I know nobody know what I'm talking about. You'll leave me on the island by myself. I don't know what the hell Bishop's talking about. That's what y'all do. Then after class, yeah, I knew what you were talking about. I just don't want to be caught out there. The hell is this? Get on my damn nerves. So read that again, 31.
Promising, this is talking about Jason. This is Onias' brother. He saw now, let me make a play for the throne. We are our worst enemies, conspiring against each other. And what did he do? Promising unto the king, which king? Antiochus, by intercession, 380 talents of silver and another revenue, 80 talents. By this he promised to assign 150 more, that he might have license to set up a place of exercise for the training up of youth in the fashion of the heathens, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochians. So what did he want to do? He wanted to help push and Hellenize his own people. No different today when people are telling you, you know, God bless America, land. How I know that's on Lord, but you know what I'm saying, right? Let's go. Let's go U.S. Army. Let's go Navy. No, you don't never let your children sign up for that stuff. Go get the jab. No. All right. So let's start tackling this. What was Jason's problem? Let's go to Proverbs chapter 3. And this is the problem with many of our sellout people, is this. 3:31.
Proverbs chapter 3, verse 31. Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways.
We envy them. We envy what they have, what they do, and we began to choose their ways. We became Hellenized. All right, so let's go back to 1 Maccabees again, and let's begin to start piecing this together. And like I said, I'm not going to finish this class in one sitting. It's going to take me a couple months, but I'll do it once a month. I'll try to go through this history. So we're going to go back to 1 Maccabees 1. And I want you to read verse 49.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 49. To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
So now once Antiochus Epiphanes got into office or into rulership, he said that we're going to stop sacrificing, we're going to stop circumcising children, and the point to the end that we might forget the law. To the end that we forget the law. If you forget the law, you're disconnected from your heritage, you forget who you are, it's easier to rule over the people. We control the way they think. Do you know something today? If old people out there knew that they were the Israelites today, like how we know, do you know nobody will be shopping today? Do you know this economy will go under? Just one day of the week, if us as a people just decide we're not buying any pork or pork products, do you know the food supply chain, one will be obliterated? When I say let Jake stop buying pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, unlawful food for 1 week and watch the food spoil. we will obliterate, and they know that. That's why it's a mad dash to stop us from teaching our people who they are. They're not worrying about us calling them the devil. That's play stuff to them. Calling a white man the devil. He's like, I know I'm the devil, damn it. You tell me who I am. You don't know that you're Israel is the problem. I know who I am. Let a woman take off the pants. Do you know the fashion industry goes under? Let us stop having a spirit of covetousness and stealing. Do you know the prison system bankrupts, goes under? Keeping the commandment is revolutionary. We could take down this kingdom without a gun. We don't need guns to take it down. God gave us the biggest weapon that we need is his laws and faith in his son. That's the big weapon. That's the nuclear bomb for them. They want you to pick up a gun and fight them. And you will lose. Half of you shooting sideways. Me, I'm going to shoot at the wrong eye. I can't shoot at the right eye. Some people don't know what I'm talking about. You're going to fight. Commandments is what changes. Commandments is revolution. They want you sisters twerking. Because they want you twerking so you can find a filthy Negro to impregnate you and bounce and leave you as a husbandless wife with a motherless child. They want you to fight over red and blue. What is idiotic foolishness? So we can sit to the end that we might forget the law. Us being circumcised in our rod is an open sign that we have a relationship with God. Us wearing fringes is an open sign that we have a relationship with God. Well, I hope you keep your penis inside your pants. I don't mean open like that. Because some people say, yeah, I'm walking down. Look. Us wearing fringes, us having a bed, women with your head covering, these are open signs that we are in relationship with God. That's when you go to church, like, why you got that bed for? Like, it makes them mad. What's wrong with you? Because they see spiritually what's happening. But their purpose is to the end that we might forget the law. Psalms 83. Remember that. Keeping the commandments is revolution. Psalms 83 and 1.
Psalms chapter 83 and verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Stop. That the what?
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
They want the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. Why? Read 82 and 1.
Keep not thy silence.
No, 82 and 1.
Oh, sorry. God standeth in the congregation of the mighty. He judgeth among the gods.
Who's the gods he's talking about? He's talking about us. That's why they want the name of Israel no more in remembrance, because God is standing in the congregation amongst the gods on earth. That's us. So they said, nah, we got to get these niggas right here. We don't need them to be think they gods. And I ain't talking about 5% of foolishness. I'm talking about the real Israelite men. Read on. Watch what it says.
For they have consulted together.
No. Read on in 82.
82 and verse 2. How long will ye judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked?
How long are we going to do that? And we're supposed to be gods. Read on.
Selah. Defend the poor and fatherless. Do justice to the afflicted and needy.
Wasn't that what Onias was trying to do with the money for the fatherless and for the widows? Read on. Now, jump on down to verse 5.
Verse 5. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course.
And we no longer are the gods on earth. We forgot that we are. This whole earth is out of course. Dudes in 2021 is openly wearing daggone pleated skirts, big 6'8" dudes walking around with mini skirts on. With mini skirts and hooker boots. Grown men are walking around with skirts on, and everybody's like, well, everybody got to do. Even these thug dudes be on TV not talking, I ain't going to have nothing to say about it because, man got to live by, it's just what he want to do, and, I don't want to make no, I don't got to say about that. Let's light this blunt. You got these, especially New York, you got these New York women, and it's not just you, but I'm looking at New York, coming out with lipstick and Timbs on, looking as thug as the men used to look back in the 80s. This world's out of course. This place needs a total refreshing. The Lord got to come and just remix this thing, because this place right here, read on.
I have said, ye are gods.
God said, I've said you are gods.
And all of you are children of the Most High.
He said, you're the children of the Most High. That's why he says, God standeth in the congregation, the mighty he judges among the gods. So I said you were gods, but what did you want to do? You want to follow the heathen. You wanted a place of exercise, a gymnasium, so you could run around butt naked. You want to worship Bacchus. Like today, all people willingly celebrate. I'm just going to a simple one, 4th of July. Man, you were slaves in 1776 on the 4th of July. How the hell are you out there now celebrating like you was free? Nick, what's wrong with you? You know what? Because some old people consented to it. And after ungodly custom was grown strong today, we're like, that's what we do, and we love it. Read on.
I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. But ye shall die like men, and fall like one of the princes.
So you're going to have to die like men then, because you don't want to listen to me. Verse 4, 83 and 4.
Psalms chapter 83, verse 4. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Now you understand why they can cut us off from being a nation? Because we no longer the gods on the earth. They said, okay, we got to separate them from the laws of God. We learned when Onias, they were doing good, and Helidorus got his behind whipped. You know, Antiochus, he's come to power. We're going to get everybody Hellenized. We need you Hellenized to the end that you might forget the laws. That you forget, today you're African American, you're a Jamaican, Puerto Rican, Mexican, whatever title they gave you. You're no longer the children of the Most High God. Use a nigger. And we go, yo, you right, my nigga, I'm a nigga. Oh, gosh. And he tried telling people this and they want to argue with you. Well, there's some people, you just got to die a nigga then. Read on.
Verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee.
These are their thinkers. They consulted together with one consent. Read on.
The tabernacles of Edom.
Esau.
And the Ishmaelites.
I don't want to go through it when you get a chance. Read. All the nations conspired together. That's why it don't matter where you go on the earth. You go to India. We got black people. I'm talking. I know Arab. I know Indian. What's the biblical name? East Indians. Elam. Thank you. Now I know Elam. I'm talking about black people that were slaves that was carried from the east coast of Africa in the Indian slave trade that's over here right now. And I'm about to prophesy right now. They're in the slums and ghettos right now over there. You go to China, there's black people in China, black like you, that eat fried chicken just like you. And I can tell you where they're at right there too. They're in the slums there. Just like in Puerto Rico, just like in Jamaica, just like in Africa. Name where we at the bottom. All those nations have conspired together and saying we have to keep them separated from the laws of God. That's why they're so hard on us, because what are we doing? Keep God's commandments. Keep God's commandments. Believe in Christ. Keep God's commandments. Believe in Christ. Don't sin. Raise your children. Teach your children. Keep the commandments. They're like, oh, no. These niggas are different. They don't care if you out there screaming about them about, you're going to go in slavery. And meanwhile, after that, they go to a strip club. They're like, yeah, okay. You're going to a strip club. No, dude, we're not going to slavery like that. We have a lot of time left. As long as you leave here and go to a strip club, as long as you leave here and you robbing and stealing and, you wearing pants, women, and we're going to be in rulership. We're not going nowhere. They need to keep you in sin. Everybody, they need to keep us in sin. And we need to get out of sin to get out of here. I mean, that is simple. I don't know another way to explain it. Okay, let's go back. Maccabees, verse 49 again.
First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 49. To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
And if you didn't do according to the commandment of the king, you shall die. Go to 2 Maccabees. 2 Maccabees. Chapter 6. Start with verse 1.
2 Maccabees, chapter 6 and verse 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers, and not to live after the laws of God, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius.
And they called it what?
The temple of Jupiter Olympius.
Bear with me 1 second. It says in verse 2, and to pollute the temple in Jerusalem and call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius. Show me an image of Jupiter. There we go. I want you to see what's right next to him. And look at the word Jupiter. Let me see. I think it does say that. What is? Okay, that's Jupiter. That's what they set up in our temple. And notice what's on the right or left side, depending on how you look at it, of that idol. It's the eagle. Remember we read back in Deuteronomy 28, as swift as the eagle flieth. That's what they set up in the temple. Jupiter of Olympius. The word Olympius means mountain. So look at the word Jupiter. I want to believe it means God or something like that. Look up the word Jupiter. The chief Roman god, husband to Juno, the god of light, the sky, the weather. So he's the god of heaven. So they're saying this is the God's mountain. That's what Jupiter Olympius means. So they went to the old temple and said, this is God's mountain. Their God's mountain. All right? Now notice, the word Jupiter was a Roman. We're talking about the Greeks. But this was a Roman god. Those gods they worship was interchangeable. Different kingdom, different name, same business. But watch this. Jupiter Olympius, right? Verse 2 again.
2 Maccabees 6, verse 2. And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius, and that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place.
Right. Those that it says, and they call him Jupiter, the defender of strangers. Those strangers were the strangers that was in our land that came with Antiochus Epiphanes. They came, I'm going to go back to First Maccabees to read it so you understand what happened. But they came in the land and they took part of the city, made a garrison, and they stayed there. They went into the temple, defiled it, put up their gods, call it the their God's mountain, and they said they prayed to it to be a defender of the strangers that were in this place. Read on.
Verse 3, the coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people.
It was sore and grievous to the people, except people like Jason, like Simon. It wasn't, no, they was good. They agreed they wanted to take part of that. They had no problem with that. They had no problem. Watch this, just read on.
For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, and besides that, bought in things that were not lawful. The altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth.
So look what they did. These heathen came and brought in a temple filled with riot and reveling, right? It says, by the Gentiles, who did what?
Who dallied with harlots.
Who dallied with harlots. Read on.
And had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places.
And they had whores, and they had a deal. They had sex with women inside the Lord's temple. Read on.
And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful.
And brought in things that are not lawful. Now we're going to come right back here, go back a chapter. I want you to read 4 and 10.
2 Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 10. Which when the king had granted, and he had gotten into his hand the rule, he forthwith brought his own nation to the Greekish fashion.
So guess what? Who was this that did this? Was this not? This was Jason. He brought his people to the Greekish fashion. Read on.
And the royal privileges granted of special favor to the Jews by the means of John the father of Eupolemus, who was ambassador to Rome for amity and aid, he took away. And putting down the governments which were according to the law, he brought up new customs against the law.
They brought up new customs that they conspired and brought up new customs against the law. Read on.
For he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself, and brought the chief young men under his subjection, and made them wear a hat.
He brought the chief young men of Israel under subjection. They built a place of exercise. Look up the word gymnasium. That's where you're exercising, right? Look up the word. I want you to look the etymology of it. Just type in etymology. Right there. You can see that screen. Just take out the word meaning and type etymology. No, you don't have to do all that. Just take out meaning and type in etymology. E-T. There you go. Okay. The word gymnasium comes from the word gymnos, which means naked. Gymnasium means to exercise naked. This, let me tell you, people's crazy. These people crazy. These people is filthy. These are filthy animals. And you know what happened? Many people consent to that. Now I'm going to show you about today, in this day and age. And it always struck me, even if I knew the truth. Man, that's why I never went to high school. That's not why, but here's the point. I was never cool with, like, going after gym, going to the locker room, and everybody, the one big room, and everybody be butt naked taking a shower. I never did that stuff. I don't know if y'all did it here in the South, but I know me. I failed gym. Honestly, I never. There's balls all around you. I don't do that at home. Hell, you do? Who does that? Who feel comfortable? And some reason, there's things that strike me how we're so brainwashed. Do you know, sister, sidebar? Women, I'm talking in the world, you could go to the beach and see them in a thong and a swimsuit, and they have no shame. But you go by their house and ring their doorbell, and they wouldn't come to the door like that. It's the same outfit. All you gotta do is put some sand or I put a glass of water and some salt. You stay in your bra and panties. But in our mind, we don't see that. Same thing with men, go to the gym. You go to the locker room, it be some old 80-year-old white boy with sagging balls, and you all sitting there, hey, you saw the Knicks playing, you be having a conversation. No, the dude is naked. How do people feel comfortable? What is wrong with... So back to some years ago, I went to a beach with my family, and my kids running around, I was throwing football with them. So one of my kids was by the water, so he's coming from the water, and there's a woman sitting there tanning her inner thighs. So you know her legs was wide open. So now we throw the football, and I'm uncomfortable because all our sisters is covered. And I said, what's wrong with us? I said, we trying to act like we're normal here. Like we're like having a good time. We don't believe, this don't fit, this don't work. We're here acting, I'm walking the water, and her whole business is open, and we acting like, hey, pass me a slice of pizza and catch this ball. I'm like, nah, this ain't my world, man. I'm not. Yeah, I'm like, and we're trying to act like, and I know we're in captivity, but it didn't resonate with me. So I'm trying to say, back to gymnasium. Show me, let's read on down, and we're going to pull some images up.
Verse 13. Now such was the height of Greek fashion.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. I want you to read verse 12 again.
Verse 12. For he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself, and brought the chief young men under his subjection, and made them wear a hat.
He got the chief young men of Israel, and he said under the subjection, and he made them wear hats. So so in all sports, there's always hats they wear. Kind of weirdo stuff. I can't put my finger on that yet. I'm not saying you can't wear a hat, but it's just something in there ain't right. I know that much. The white man doing it ain't right. But he brought the chief young men under subjection to bring to the Greek's fashion. So I'm going to show you a book. The book is called Persia. Can you see it? Persian Fire, all right? This is page 85. And I'll read some to you. It says, a lesson most alarmingly brought home to a boy when at the age of 12, he became legal game for cruising. Pedestry, which is pedophilia, pedestry was widely practiced elsewhere in Greece, but only in Sparta was it institutionalized. So sleeping with little boys was common practice in the Greek culture. But in Sparta, it was institutionalized, meaning it became governing law. Look what it says. Even it is said, with fines for boys who refuse to take a lover. So, at the age of what they just said, 12, in the Greek culture, it was common for a grown man to run up in the backside of a boy. And if the boy refused, the booty police would come and give him a ticket and say, you either pay this or offer up your rectum. Yo, these people are crazy. These people are nut jobs. And these are people you want to follow. You want to blonde your hair and press your hair and be like, these people you want to be. And I want to thank them for the water. People, man, these people could drop dead. You got to be joking. You sick. You are some sick, nasty, filthy people. Don't try to mask that stuff. This is your books. We didn't write this stuff. Please. This is your history. What are you talking about? Yo, I don't want to give up. Oh, it's the booty police. Run! Hide your anus. These filthy people. Please, you base animal. Anyway, girls too, it is rumored, if not married, might expect to be sodomized repeatedly during their adolescence. So go your history. See what happened? The mistake you made, Esau, is that you allowed us to learn how to read again. How to sign out vowel, A-E-I-O-U. I know how to read again. Now we got all this information in the hands. You can Google this stuff. This ain't like it ain't a special book that I wrote. It's out there. You like little boy booty. And then you gonna give him a ticket. I don't want to do it. Now I gotta pay a ticket. I gotta go to booty court. That'd be a good skit. I gotta go to booty court. I'm telling you how my mind processes it. I'm just trying to understand. I don't want him to stick, but Your Honor. Let's move on. That is good. So verse 12 again.
2 Maccabees 4, verse 12. For he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself, and brought the chief young men under his subjection, and made them wear a hat. Now such was the height of Greek fashions,
Read on.
an increase of heathenish manners,
All that, read on.
through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretch,
That's right.
and no high priest,
That's right.
that the priest had no courage to serve any more at the altar, but despising the temple and neglecting the sacrifices, hastened to be partakers of the unlawful allowance in the place of exercise.
They gave up keeping the Lord's Sabbath for this unlawful exercise after the game of discus called them forth. Y'all would do that for basketball today. Yo, the Knicks is playing. Forget the Sabbath. How about them Cowboys? Watch this. Gymnos means to exercise naked. Give me that image of discus. This is what you always do. This is what they was doing. This is their artwork. They was throwing what you call frisbee today. There's a game called discus where they would run and throw a circle-shaped object butt naked. I don't understand why the butt naked part was. Okay, you could throw, but you couldn't have a pair of shorts on? And it had to have been difficult for us playing that game. Because we must have been tripping all the time. Must have been damn. Gotta do give me a do-over. They must have been there all watching. Wow, look at this. Okay, let's go back. Hey, so when you get back to, what's this? So you get back to verse 15.
2 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 15. Not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all.
Yeah, we like what they were doing. Remember, they were dallying with harlots in this temple. All this stuff was going on, and it was our own people that was leading us to this. That was leading us to this defilement. But they understood, you know what? To the end, we need to make them forget these laws. We're going to get their minds messed up. All right, let's go back to some of this imagery here. I forgot what I have up there now. Is there any way I can see on the screen? Okay, step right there. No. Let's read on.
Verse 16. By reason whereof sore calamity came upon them, for they had them to be their enemies and avengers, whose customs they follow so earnestly, and unto whom they desire to be like in all things.
In all things. We became booty warriors. We became lesbians. We became whoremongers. Remember, on Ananias, everything was good. But we had a few ungodly people amongst us that loved the Greekish ways. And we turned to it. And thus we got where we at now. Read on.
For it is not a light thing to do wickedly against the laws of God.
Okay, let's stop there. I want to jump back to 2 Maccabees 6, verse 6.
2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be called a Jew, to be a Jew. And in the day of the king's birth every month, they were bought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus.
So we were forced to go into procession to Bacchus. Okay, it says every month in the king's birth. That's another class we don't celebrate is birthdays, another class of the time. But we was brought by bitter constraint to eat the sacrifice, and when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession. I want you to show me the god Bacchus first, or the so-called god. I don't want to call him a god. So-called, whatever you call this. Bacchus. Now, I have it in a book. There's a few of them I have up there, but I have in a book, Roman Mythology. That's not it. It's a book called Roman Mythology, verse 66. Give me 1 second. Okay, which one? Okay, let's use that one first. Okay, let's use that first. This the so-called god Bacchus that they worship. He was a god of drunkenness. That's why you see grapes in his hands, making wine. And the god of Bacchus was about drunkenness and orgies. They would drink themselves. You ever notice, if you ever see those old Roman movies, they was always laying down and eating and drinking. They would drink until they throw up, till they pass out. And whoever's rod end up wherever, that's where it end up. It might end up in your booty. That's just what it is. That's the lifestyle they lived. The god of Bacchus. We was forced to go, because you was forced, because you're going to get boned to be blank to you, point blank. Now watch this. Remember about the pederastry, right? Before we go there, I want to use another image. I want to use the image. I want this book right here. I want you to go to Blacks in Antiquity, all right? Right here. Bishop and deacons, they be pulling this book a lot. But I want to show you a couple images in here. The one I want on page, I need your help. Okay, page 75. This is the image I'm looking for right here. If you can show people this one right here. Can you pull that image up? That's it. Okay, this is us being Hellenized. Hellenistic terracotta in the form of a Negro boy sleeping beside an amphora. Now, an amphora, it looks like a little Negro boy, he took a nap, right? No, he's been bent up. Look up the word amphora. Watch this. Type in amphora wine. And let's pull it up. Pictures, image. Okay, that's go down. You see that right there, the third one. Third. No, that's not the third. Right there. That's right there. Okay. You see the one with the handles right there? I know he's struggling right now. Yeah, he's going through it right now. It's okay. Okay, that's good enough. You see the Roman amphora right there with the handles? Now go back to that image. Now look at the little boy. What do you think happened to him? Look at his booty out. Remember Greek, they like pederastry. That was full of wine. He was drunk, and notice how he's perched. This was in a museum in where? Oxford, 1931. This is how we was Hellenized. This is what the Greeks were doing to us. So somebody see that and think it's just a simple little, Negro boy. No. More like he was screwed to death, drunk. Alrighty then. All right, let's go back. Bacchus. I want this image from this book right here. And I want the bottom one. You know, Esau doesn't like to confront their history that they give us. You know what's funny? Don't you notice in the last time, Esau start adopting a lot of black kids, left and right, just the last 20 years, so adopt them left and right. They had one recently, I saw something, a young girl was crying because they wouldn't feed her, whatever. But what do you think they're doing to little kids? Okay. The bottom image, you got to lift it up. Okay, I'm going to read it to you. It says, the triumph of Bacchus, as shown in the sarcophagus, that means a tomb, frieze, could be rowdy, goat-footed satires, and it says, a centaur, a crazy female bacchantes, an old Silenus on or more often falling off his donkey made up the rout. So I want you to keep that image there, and I want you to read verse 7.
2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 7. And in the day of the king's birth, every month, they were bought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus.
So that's what you're looking here. The people were moving in procession. But it said the Jews went in procession, right? Okay. Give me that video real quick. This is the Jews going to procession to Bacchus. Now, you know it here in America as Mardi Gras. In the Caribbean islands, you know it as Carnival. Or what's the other they call it? Bacchanal. This is them in Brazil. All people going into procession to Bacchus. What happened? I'm sorry? Okay. Oh, disclaimer. Okay. Oh, we're reading. Oh, there we go. That's all people going in procession to Bacchus. In Brazil, they'll have a few million people at one time. Look at the demonic images. All people going down in procession to worship Bacchus and don't even know. And I found this one. This is one of the more gentler ones than what you could find out there. Stop it. And you find the same custom. They do this. It's called Mardi Gras. What are you doing in New Orleans? They getting drunk. New York City, Trinidad, Jamaica, all throughout the world they do this. Ungodly custom grown strong is now kept as law. Remember, when all people did it, it was by bitter constraint. Now we willingly doing it. And they say, we odd. I'm good. I don't want to be found next to amphora, drunk with my pants down. So I'm good. No. This is what they get? Okay. One more. There's another image I had. I'm going to need your help with this one. Get a liar. It was the last one I gave you. It was top of the page. You know what I'm talking about? It was in black. On Bacchus. Just give me a second. Okay, here we go. So, yeah, put this one up. And I want you to read this for me, Solomon, please.
Yes, sir.
Now, first, I want you to notice something. Oh, well, I'll just read it first. Just going to read it.
A rustic procession for Dionysus on a Athenian cup about 550 BC. The image of a large, hairy how you say that? Satire, holding a massive phallus erect.
You know what phallus is? Is a penis, an erect penis they're riding. And you see those things, those ivies right there? That's a vine. Read on.
Is carried by a group of village boys, one of whom has climbed on the satire's back. Ivy tendrils and ribbons and add a festive air to what was probably a ribald occasion celebrating the god of wine and fertility.
Okay, so you understand, that's Bacchus. Now, hey, help me understand. No, you don't have to. I understand already. You got a bunch of dudes riding a rod. Okay, you can't make the stuff up. Read on.
The satire, attendant of the god, is a fine creation of the Greek artist's imagination. Horse-tailed and horse-eared, often depicted as a randy coward, but here in
Effigy.
effigy on a mortal occasion of worship.
Right. So, okay, so you have these guys celebrating the god of wine and fertility. So now you understand when we go back to 2 Maccabees, verse 7.
2 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 7. And in the day of the king's birth every month, they were bought by bitter constraint.
Yeah, I would have been, yeah, because you're about to drink and worship Bacchus. I'm bitter because I know what's about to happen to me. Read on.
To eat of the sacrifices.
And you know what? Jason brought them underneath this. Jason's like, yo, you young boys, come on, you little young boys, come on. We're gonna get you incorporated into this lifestyle. Read on.
And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus.
And they was compelled by bitter constraint. We're going to kill you. We're going to take what you have. You're going to bitter constraint. You're going to be compelled to go into Bacchus. So you're about to get drunk and you're about to get screwed. Read on.
Carrying ivy.
Carry on. Okay, read on.
Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighboring cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices.
Right, so they went to Ptolemy and told him down in Egypt, listen, make sure the Jews do the same thing down there, because we had Jews in Egypt too. 2 Maccabees 1, you don't have to go there. Explain that we had Jews down there also. And tell them, make that decree there too. Do you understand part of Hellenizing us was for us to forget the law? And they didn't want us to grow strong. So they know if we could turn these little boys out and make them a bunch of sissies, they won't procreate like that. They don't want you to procreate. That's why they want you boys to be gay and you women to be lesbians, to slow down procreation. Because we breed like the sand. We can't stop it. In all afflictions, we still making babies, and we got to slow them down. So that's one of the things. Get them from the young and turn them out. That's why these little boys be sis. That's why you see a lot of young boys be effeminate as hell, because they're raised by their mama. They don't know. And a woman are effeminate. I mean, that's their nature. But when they're around that and they don't have no male influence around them, they pick up that subconsciously and subtly. And that's why they grow up and they be effeminate. You find them in churches, they be wearing cherry lip gloss and singing soprano. It's part of the plan to break them. That's how they used to break bucks too. Slave owners would take him and run up in him in front of everybody and break his spirit. Have him confused. Okay. All right, so stop that. What do I have in images up there real quick? Show me on this end. Next. Next. Oh, next. 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 Okay, that one right there. Pull that up. This is back to Bacchus. If you notice, and this is, again, Hellenized Jews. You notice the images, and they can't say it's Esau because look at the facial features. The nose, the mouth is meant to be us. And look what's over his head. Grapes. Look what he's chasing after. Bestiality. This is us going away from the laws of God. They're trying to make us out into this is demonic stuff. Okay, next. Let me see what's on the screen, please. Okay, let's show this Hellenized Jews. Okay, read that for me.
You blow it up a little bit, please. You want 64? Okay.
The top one.
Bronze statue of boyish orator, Hellenistic Alexandrian, rather long, tightly curled hair, nose and lips negroid, but not extreme.
Okay, go down. Read it.
Bronze statue of boy, perhaps also an orator, Hellenistic.
Tightly curled hair. Okay, watch this. So let's read. Don't leave that image right there. Go to 2 Maccabees 4, verse 9.
2 Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 9. Besides this, he promised to assign 150 more if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise.
Stop right there. Change that image. Go to the one of them boxing. Let's click over to them boxing. Right there. That's the one I want. Okay, now read that verse. Leave it right there and read that verse.
Besides this, he promised to assign 150 more if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise and for the training up of youth in the fashions of the heathen, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochus.
And that's what we're reading about. That's what we're seeing here, our people being Hellenized. So, now I'm going to take you to the, now we was going over Bacchus a little bit. I'm going to take you to the New Testament real quick. Let's go to Romans, befitting, because the Romans had their foothold on the Greeks at this point. That's why it's called the Greco-Roman Empire. Watch this. Romans chapter 3. Not Romans 3. 1 Peter 4. I'm sorry. 1 Peter 4. 4:13.
1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 13. But rejoice, inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy.
Now, I want reveling. Where does it says reveling? Find it for me, please.
Excess of riding.
Yes. Say again louder. Okay. 4 and 3? Thank you.
1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 3. For the times past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles, when we walked in lasciviousness, lust.
No. Say, read again slow.
When we walked in lasciviousness.
No, read before that before.
For the time past of our life.
For the time past of our life.
May suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles.
To have wrought the will of the Gentiles. Read on.
When we walked in lasciviousness.
When we walked in lasciviousness. Where did we learn that at? Dumb Greeks? When they was running up in the men's booty, turning their girls into whores. When they was rioting. Read on.
Lust. Excess of wine.
Where did we learn that at? Worshiping Bacchus. We became alcoholics. And then we became generational alcoholics. In many houses, you find generational alcoholics because their mom and dad they end up becoming the same thing. Who was pushing? The Greeks. The Romans were pushing this. We became lascivious. Drunkards. Read on.
Revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries.
And we got caught in all those abominable idolatries they were doing, worshiping swine's flesh on this thing. Now watch what it says, verse 4.
Wherein they think it strange that ye run not with them to the same excess of riot.
Now, because of ungodly custom grown strong, they think it's strange that you don't run to that excess. Because back then it was strange to let a dude run up your behind to drink and like that. But after they said, you know what, if you don't do it, we're going to kill you. And after generations of it, it became common practice amongst us where we did that. Is there more?
Speaking evil of you.
Speaking what?
Speaking evil of you.
And now, today, they'll speak evil of you because you don't do that. A brother had a restaurant, I think it was in Texas, and he had all these young girls coming here twerking. He's like, yo, I put $1 million in this place to give you all someplace nice to sit down and eat, to bring families, and can you please not twerk? And they still went back and twerked, and he came up there, he cursed them out, and then he was getting mad at him. He's like, yo, get out of here. You want to go to the club. They got children in here. I spent this money to give our people something nice, and you dumb thoughts become the twerk. No. And when you say something, they think it's strange. Like, what's wrong with you? What? I ain't gonna say it. Romans 13. This is what I was looking for in Romans. Romans 13. 13:13.
Romans chapter 13, verse 13.
That's why it says this. Read.
Let us walk honestly, as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envy.
Because where did we learn this? Greco-Romans. Let us walk honestly, not in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envy. These were all the customs that we picked up, what we learned from our enemies. I want to go back. 2 Maccabees. What time is it now? It's in 2 hours. Oh. 2 Maccabees. No, I'm sorry, 1 Maccabees. And now I want to read on down and begin some of the things that he was doing. Let me read a little bit so I can read kind of quick. I'm going to read 1 Maccabees 1 and 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, the son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome. Oh, I was talking about hostage at Rome, right? It says, and that was during the year 222. And he reigned, and he reigned in the 130th and 7th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. Verse 11. In those days there went out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we've had much sorrow. So we had of our own people that was trying to push us to make covenants with the heathen. What does the scriptures tell us today? Come out of her, my people. Be not partakers of her. So if you have any of your people that's trying to get you to assimilate with them, you know those are the same spirits back on the earth trying to get you to assimilate into a burning ship. This place is falling apart. It says, verse 12, so the device pleased them well, that certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the custom of the heathen. We just read that in 2 Maccabees 4. That's why I told you this history parallels itself. Verse 15, and made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have dominion over 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into, I'm not going to touch this. I'm going to do this in the next class because it's going to go into the Ptolemy dynasty, where they began to fight with them because he wanted to rule. So let's jump on down. Chapter 2. Verse 1.
First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 1. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the son of Joarib, from Jerusalem and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Johanan, called Caddis, Simon, called Thassi, Judas, who was called Maccabees, Eleazar, called Avaron, and Jonathan, whose surname was Aphis. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers. Her temple is become as a man without glory.
We just read that. It was destroyed. It was turned into a whorehouse. Read on.
Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets. Her young men with the sword of the enemy. What nation hath not had a part in her kingdom, and gotten of her spoils?
So he says, this was his thought. He said, what nation that had not had part in our destruction? Every nation has taken part in the fall or the destruction of the Israelites. That's why all of them are going to go into captivity. That's why we're not to join unto any of them. All nations. We read that in Psalms 83. They all came together and conspired against us. Read on.
All her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman she is become a bondslave. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. To what end thereof shall we live any longer? Then Mattathias and his sons rent their clothes, and put on sackcloth, and mourn very sore. In the meanwhile the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city Modin to make them sacrifice. And when many of Israel came unto them, Mattathias also and his sons came together. Then answered the king's officers and said to Mattathias on this wise, Thou art a ruler, an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren. Now therefore come thou first, and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, and as such remain at Jerusalem. So shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends, and thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards.
So he told him, listen, this is Mattathias and his sons. He said, listen, Jerusalem already fell. They're doing it. We just read that in 1 Maccabees 1. The temple was desecrated. So now he's in Modin, which Modin is going to be north of Jerusalem. He said, listen, join us. Sacrifice like all the other heathens are doing, and like many of the people in Judah is doing. Now I'm going to give you a little sidebar. One of America's things that's going to be their Achilles heel is the practice in which they do like the Greeks. I'm telling you, you're still going to do it anyway because you just set to default. But why the Greeks weren't liked the way they were was because they forced people to move away from their traditions into what they wanted them to do, become Hellenized. And the people round about had a problem with that. As you're reading here, you're going to see that's why Antiochus had to go into Asia to receive revenues, and they killed him out there. Same thing with America. America's despised because it tries to influence the whole world to follow its ways. The Persian and Mede Empire lasted, even though they're the devil too, but they lasted as long as they did from India to Ethiopia because everybody had the right to worship what they want to worship. Just send the dough. That's all they cared about. If the money come, that's why you read 2 Ezra 13. We was allowed to leave. Many of us went back to the land. Do whatever. Just the money got to be right. That's what the problem was with Babylon. Everybody had to bow. When the sound of the sackbut, the psaltery, they all had to bow. And what happened? They imploded from the inside. That's why Babylon fell from the inside. Same thing with the Greeks. What happened? They imploded from the inside. It became internal war. Demetrius, or Seleucus' son Demetrius, War against Antiochus Eupator. We're going to read it a couple months from now. I'll try to get to it. Same thing is going to happen in America. They're going to implode. It's going to begin on the inside. What was happening inside of Babylon? You had Israelites, some of them that were keeping the commandments. Same thing, what happened with the Greeks. Same thing that's going to happen here. There's going to be us that's going to repent and keep these commandments, and the Most High is going to hear our prayers. I had the mic far from me for so long. So where we left off at?
Verse 19.
Read on.
Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him, and fall away every one from their religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandment, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers.
So what is he saying there? I'm not going to be bought off. You can't pay me. Give me that real quick, Ecclesiastes 7:7.
Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad.
It says, surely oppression will make a wise man mad. So a man who is dumb, oppression will not make him mad. He'll be all right. That's called Stockholm. You oppressed, and we hear, look at us how we live. We're getting killed in the streets right now, and all we wait for is Uzi Vert's new album. That's what we're looking for. Michael Jordan's come out with a new pair of sneakers. Destiny Child is getting back together. And it's old people. R. Kelly is doing new music from prison, and old people lulled to sleep. Old people don't care. Hey, we'll put an extra little money on your EBT card. Trump give you PPP. And people, we don't forget, we can care less. A gift destroyeth the heart. It says, surely oppression makes a wise man mad.
And a gift destroyeth the heart.
And a gift will destroy the heart of what? A dummy. He thought that he can buy him off. We'll make you the king's friend. We'll get honor and riches. We'll do all this and that. Don't you think he would have been simple just to kill him? Yeah, but why did they kill him for? Because he was a man who had influence in the city. And he said, if we can turn him, he'll turn more people than we going through fight. But they miscalculated. He wasn't going for it. He's like, nah, you might turn all these people, but we ain't changing. We're going to keep the laws of all father like we always done. And that's going to be us. I hope that's going to be us here. We ain't selling out. I don't care. We're going to keep the laws of the Most High God. You ain't buying us off. So here, I'm going to give you all something so you all can marinate on this. You run this course in this truth, and you sincere about this truth, there's 3 ways they're going to try to dismantle you. They're going to try to destroy your name and your credibility. They'll try to pay you off. And if that don't work, they're going to kill you. That's what you all signed up for. Read on.
You want back in Maccabees?
Yep.
First Maccabees, chapter 2. And you want me to read verse 19 again? Or
Verse 21.
Verse 21. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's word to go from our religion, either on the right hand or on the left.
Read on.
Now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment.
So when I read that verse about a Jew coming, it always shows you the influence or that has already affected, or the leaven that has already affected people, that they feel comfortable to come and sacrifice swine's flesh on the altar to another. You understand? Does that make sense to you? Prior to that, when Onias was in rulership, they wouldn't have done that. But you had some more people that conspired, and their influence was so strong that somebody said, I'm going to bring this offering, and felt bold to do it. Felt bold to sacrifice to it. Read on.
Which things, when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled, neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. Also the king's commissioner, who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down.
So he knew at that point he sealed his fate. He said, yo, this guy's serious? I just told him I'm not going to do it, and you're going to do it? Kill him, and you know what? We already killed him. We may as well kill one of the king's messengers. Kill them too. Now it's war. What do you think happened with him now? Read on, let's see.
Verse 26, thus dealt he zealously for the law of God, like as Phinehas did unto Zambri the son of Salam. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me. So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there, both they and their children, and their wives, and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them.
So now, at that moment, you think he went home and, he sat down, had dinner. No, he had to pick up and begin to leave. Now, what time of year was this? Jump back to chapter 1, verse 25.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 25. Therefore, there was great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were.
No, First Maccabees 125. Oh, 154, I'm sorry.
Verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side.
So that was the month of Caslu, right? That's about the 9th month of the year. You're coming into the winter time now. So now Judas Maccabees and his father, Mattathias, and them, they made their way to the city of Modin. He killed them there. You're going to the winter months, and now he's out. He's taking his whole family, men, and they out there keeping tabernacles for real now. No certain dwelling place. This begins. So what I just did was set up the stage for what we're going to start reading about concerning the battles that they fought and how the Most High. And I'm going to tell you something. How in all the victories the Most High gave us during this time, we did have some significant loss. Judas Maccabees and them dying, but it never broke the spirit of those righteous that wanted freedom, that wanted their own thing. And they forced their hand. For a while, they forced the hand of the Greeks to buckle to them. But the cost for that was there. So I'm going to stop today right here on this point, because when I get back to it, we'll read the history. So I would advise you all to read the history of this, and we'll revisit this once a month. I'll go through the history of this, and I pray that it was edifying to you all right? With that, you all stay tuned. This afternoon's class, Bishop will be on, I believe, 6 p.m. As Bishop always says, study, pray, and apply. We out.
We used to scream black power while Heron was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.